A few months after 9/11, I started a consulting project to develop a business continuity program for a large local company. I finished the project 4 months ago. Since finishing, I've had time to reflect on what worked, what didn't work, and what might have worked better if I'd tried it. This presentation gives form to those reflections, and it introduces a book that details the way I would approach the project if I knew then what I know now. The Disaster Recovery Institute International uses the National Fire Protection Association's definition of business continuity. Their definition focuses on a process for the identification of potential losses and the maintenance of recovery strategies, plans, and services. DRII teaches and certifies business continuity professionals in how to realize this process through the use of 10 professional practices that are clustered into pre-planning, planning, and post-planning groups. In pre-planning, 3 practices focus on assessing work disruption risks and consequences. Next, the planning cluster of practices is focused on figuring out and documenting what people should do when a disruptive event occurs. And finally, the post-planning cluster splits its focus between readiness activities and important practices that don't appear to fit easily in other clusters. Each of these 10 practices is important to a strong business continuity program, but as a list, they don't explicitly describe a process, and they don't facilitate the development of a continuously improving program. In a moment, I'll offer a way of using these practices in a more process-friendly, continuously improving way. Organizations sometimes limit the success of their business continuity programs unintentionally. Let's look at some of the more common unintentional program problems and the solutions that are built into this new approach. As decision makers, executives often approve programs and then delegate their fate to others. Business continuity is different. Because business continuity programs define how the entire organization will operate under challenging circumstances, the need for visible, consistent, documented, and enthusiastic executive support after the program is authorized must be understood from the beginning. Business continuity is about priority setting. It's about preparing the most valuable, most interruption-sensitive work groups to resume quickly. Because the amount of attention a business continuity program can allocate to preparing departments is finite, working with non-critical departments can waste time and resources that should be focused on mission-critical department resumption plans, training, and exercises. There's such a thing as too much analysis and planning. Asking program participants to repeatedly refresh detailed forms can deplete the time they would otherwise have available for program readiness and upgrade activities. And annually transforming every form into a book-sized report diverts the program practitioner's time from higher-yield readiness activities. That's why limiting analysis and planning refresh requests to resumption essential information is vital. Mission-critical departments are, by definition, always busy fulfilling the organization's purpose. Without their management's business continuity buy-in, and without special attention from the business continuity program, mission-critical departments are likely to postpone or skimp on important business continuity preparations in favor of spending time on urgently needed work. Finally, unless the program has a built-in vision, path, and commitment to continuous improvement, the forces of habit and predictability often cause organizations to mistake the repetition of increasingly stale program activities for an improving process. The first cycle of a new program is about introductions, expectations, and connections. Once stakeholders are familiar with their role in and the benefits from a program, it must change focus toward continuous improvement. To be sustainable, a new program must regularly justify its existence. The initial decision to spend money and time on a program that, like insurance, doesn't contribute to profits can elicit resentment and resistance if it isn't sold properly to stakeholders and participants. Once a program is sold, promises of protection must be fulfilled by building an appropriately sized and targeted program and by enabling the organization to execute the program through an outcomes-focused, feedback-fueled implementation process. As we all know, experience is the ultimate teacher, and if our first attempts at making something new are good enough, we're allowed to make improvements by applying what we've learned. That's why our subsequent cycles must begin with proof that the initial support for the program was wise and that a continuation of support for the program is warranted. Then and only then we can upgrade plans and improve their execution by applying what we've learned during the first cycle. That's the overview of program structure and stages. Now let's look at each stage in greater detail. A good steward of resources will want to know several things before authorizing an expensive and a potentially disruptive risk mitigation program. What could shut us down, and how likely are these threats? What and how bad are the consequences of a work interruption, and how quickly would we take a substantial hit? What is involved in a program that would protect us? What would our people have to do to make this program work? How will I know that the program is delivering the right level of protection? What resources, employee time, and leadership support does the program require? These are the foundational questions that should be asked and answered by any organization when authorizing a business continuity program. Before building any plans, it's important to know and to synchronize with entities that an organization depends on. Whether it's the fire department, a critical vendor, or a key supplier, your plans will be influenced by their plans and vice versa. Business continuity is only possible if workers are safe and sound. That means that a robust emergency response capability has been planned and practiced. And business continuity must be orchestrated by an incident management team that is prepared to follow their plan and process from the earliest stages of the event to closeout. Department teams that are trying to resume critical work will need logistic and technical support that has been planned and resourced. And finally, workers will need to know how to and how quickly to continue their tasks. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and plans without training and without exercise are simply that, good intentions. Without mandatory participation in readiness activities, plans only describe what the planner thinks workers should do. Because only perfect practice makes perfect, team exercises must be preceded by training. First cycle exercises can be simple walkthroughs or tabletops followed by hot wash feedback sessions that fuel the continuous improvement process. The first cycle of a business continuity program must establish an improvable level of interruption protection. Subsequent sustaining program cycles, if the program is renewed, must enhance that protection through intentional application of lessons learned. Each sustaining program cycle begins by answering the question, is support for a business continuity program the right decision for our organization? And is our program being done right? Have the threats or the risks changed? Should the strategy change? How does our program stack up against industry and discipline standards? How does an informed and an independent third party rate our program's strengths, weaknesses, and our improvement path? What support should the organization provide going forward? Upgrading plans involves paying attention to and learning from experience. What have we learned that can make our plans and our practice more effective and efficient? What can we adjust in our plans or acquire as a resource that will maximize our interruption resistance or minimize the costs of the program? And what have we tried that just doesn't work? One of the ways that business continuity programs get better over time is by getting more real. Readiness activities must evolve toward greater realism with each cycle. Improving readiness means following a path from tabletop exercises to increasingly inclusive drills and simulations that provide more and better experience with each program cycle. What's next? Later this year, my book, Applied Business Continuity, will be published. In it, each element of the business continuity process that you've just viewed will be explained in detail, with practical suggestions that I've either tried or that I wish I'd tried. Until then, thanks for your time and your attention.